There's a kind of silence that doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in small pieces. A missed call, a visit postponed, a promise that quietly expires. I noticed it long before I understood it. By the time I did, it was already complete. I'm 82 years old. I'm sitting in the same chair I've had for years. The fabric is warm where my hands rest. The room looks the same as it always has, but it feels smaller now, quieter. Not because people are talking less, but because no one is expected to talk anymore. When I got sick, no one left dramatically. No arguments, no slammed doors. They just thinned out. At first, it didn't worry me. Everyone has lives, jobs, children, noise of their own. I told myself that illness makes people uncomfortable, and discomfort passes. I believed that for a long time. The diagnosis came on an ordinary afternoon. The doctor spoke calmly like he was discussing weather. He said words I had heard before on television about other people. Chronic, progressive, manageable, but not reversible. I nodded like I understood. I even smiled. That's something I've always done. Smiled so others wouldn't feel burdened. When I told my family, they reacted the way people do when they don't know what to say. They said they were sorry. They said we'd take it one step at a time. They hugged me carefully as if I might break. For a while, they checked in. How are you feeling today? Did you eat? Do you need anything? I said no, mostly because I didn't know how to say yes. In my younger years, I was capable, dependable, the one people leaned on. I worked long hours, missed dinners, skipped holidays, not because I didn't care, but because I believed there would always be time later. I thought love was patient by default. In my 30s and 40s, life moved fast. Children grew. Responsibilities stacked. I measured my worth by what I provided, not by how present I was. When people needed me emotionally, I told myself I'd show up properly when things settled down. They never really did. When the illness progressed, small things became difficult. Driving at night, standing too long, remembering simple details. I didn't announce these changes. I adjusted quietly. That's what I'd always done. The phone calls slowed, not stopped, just spaced farther apart. Weekly became monthly. Monthly became occasional. Occasional became accidental. I noticed I was always the one calling first, always the one saying, I don't want to bother you. Eventually, I stopped dialing just to see if anyone would notice. They didn't. Hospital visits came next. Short stays at first, tests, waiting rooms with muted televisions and chairs that never quite fit your body. My family came once, maybe twice. They stood near the door, checked their watches, promised to come back when things were clearer. Things never got clearer enough. I don't blame them the way people expect me to. That kind of anger takes energy. I think they told themselves I was managing. I sounded fine on the phone. I didn't complain. I didn't ask. What they didn't understand is that silence can look a lot like strength from a distance. After one hospital stay, I came home to a house that felt unfamiliar, not empty, just unclaimed. I realized no one had asked when I'd be discharged. No one had offered to pick me up. I took a taxi and carried my own bag inside. I sat on the edge of my bed and felt something shift. Not pain, not sadness exactly. Recognition. This wasn't temporary. This was the shape of things now. I began to understand that my illness hadn't driven them away. It had simply removed the reason to stay close. When I stopped being useful, the connection loosened on its own. That's a hard thing to admit at this age. I replay memories more now, moments I once rushed through, a child waiting to show me something, a spouse asking me to listen when I was tired, a phone ringing that I let ring because I'd call back later. Later is a word that disappears quietly, too. Faith was something I carried without thinking before. It was background noise, comforting, familiar. But lying awake at night, listening to my own breathing, I began asking questions I never needed answers to before. Why was I still here if I was so easily set aside? What was the point of endurance if no one witnessed it? I didn't lose belief overnight. It eroded the same way my family did, slowly, politely, without confrontation. Some days I still expect footsteps at the door. I don't know whose. I just know the feeling. Other days I accept that no one is coming and feel relieved not to prepare explanations. There's a strange peace in stopping the waiting. I don't tell this story to accuse anyone. I tell it because this is what disappearance really looks like. Not abandonment in anger, but absence through neglect. I'm still alive. I still wake up. I still remember names, faces, warmth. But I've learned something painful and simple. You can be loved once and still end up alone if you wait too long to hold on to it. I don't know how much time I have left. I only know that this part, this quiet, is real, and it's mine now. I wanted someone to know that. I wake up earlier now, not because I want to, but because sleep doesn't hold me the way it used to. The mornings are the hardest. They arrive without distraction, no one else moving in the house, no reason to stay in bed. I sit at the kitchen table and drink my tea slowly. I've learned not to rush it. There's nowhere to be. I look at the chair across from me without thinking. It's just habit. That chair used to matter. I don't remember the exact day my family stopped coming. There wasn't a final visit. No goodbye that marked the end, just fewer coats by the door, fewer voices in the room, less reason to cook more than I need. At some point, I stopped setting extra places. When people talk about being forgotten, they imagine it happens after death. I've learned it can happen much earlier. It starts when your name no longer fits easily into someone's schedule. I hear about my family secondhand sometimes. A neighbor mentions seeing one of them in town. I learn about birthdays after they've passed. Holidays come and go quietly. I stopped asking why I wasn't invited. The answers didn't change anything. My illness makes me slower, but it also makes me notice things I used to ignore. Dust in the corners, the sound the floor makes at night, how loud the house can feel when it's empty. I used to think independence was something to be proud of. Now I understand it can also be a way of teaching people you don't need them. Once that lesson is learned, it's hard to unteach. There are moments I still reach for the phone, not to ask for help, just to hear someone say my name. Sometimes I dial. Most times I don't. I don't want to feel like a reminder of something inconvenient. That's another thing illness teaches you. How quickly you start editing yourself for others. My faith comes and goes. Some days it feels like the only witness I have left. Other days it feels distant, like everything else. I still pray, but the words are shorter now. Less asking, more sitting quietly. I don't ask for my life to be different anymore. That took too much energy. What I want now is understanding, not from them, from myself. I see where I went wrong, not in one big way, but in dozens of small ones. Choosing work over conversation, silence over discomfort, believing that showing love later would be enough. it wasn't. I don't hate my family. I think that surprises people. Hate would mean I still expect something from them. I don't. I've let that go. What hurts is realizing how easy it was to drift apart, how little effort it took, how quickly years can erase closeness if no one is holding it in place. I talk to myself more now, out loud sometimes. It helps me remember that I still exist, that my voice hasn't disappeared just because fewer people hear it. There are things I would say differently if I could go back. I would stop pretending I was fine. I would tell people when I miss them. I would make room for tenderness instead of waiting for the right moment. But time doesn't move backward. It just keeps going, quietly, whether you're ready or not. Or, I don't know if my family thinks about me. I hope they do sometimes. Other times, I hope they don't. It's easier to accept absence when you imagine it's unintentional. I've learned to live inside smaller days, simple routines, familiar objects, the comfort of knowing what each hour will bring. There's dignity in that, even if it took me a long time to see it. If you're listening to this and you still have people around you, don't assume closeness is permanent. It isn't. It needs attention. It needs words. It needs time while there's still time. I'm 82 now. I carry my illness with me, but I also carry my memories. Some are heavy. Some are warm enough to sit with. I don't expect anyone to come back. I've made peace with that. What matters to me now is that this story exists somewhere outside of me. If this meant something to you, I'm glad you stayed.